Hey y'all, so today's particular piece of Tupperware we're reviewing is the Glock 19X. Now before I get into this, I want to say that this gun got a lot of hype because of the military trials, and a lot of people that were kind of like long-time Glock owners reviewed this, and they made a lot of comparisons to other Glocks, which can be kind of annoying for someone just looking to learn about the gun. Maybe they don't own a Glock or only own one or two Glocks and don't have all the knowledge in the world on them. So I'm going to try and limit my comparisons to other Glocks and just talk about the gun itself and do a review like comparing it to other things in my collection, since I also only have one Glock, so I don't have a bunch of stuff to compare it to. So let's get into it. Now, I'm well known, I like making fun of Glocks and all that, and Glock people and all that. So with that being said, the one thing I can't fault this gun for is reliability. Reliability, I ran about just over 1,000 rounds through this gun. 3 different types of ammo. I put 124 plus P HST hollow points through it. I put the Federal 115 grain, just a standard Walmart 9mm through it. And I put some NATO Winchester NATO through it, and not a single malfunction. Like I said, over 1,000 rounds, and not one. Not a single time did I get a hang up. Did I get failure to feed? Anything. No stovepipes. It's not jammed a single time. And I've gotten, like, there's times I'll go to the range and I'll go through easily 200 rounds or more in an hour, and the frame will get pretty warm, and the gun just keeps trucking. So, and for anybody wondering, the light that's lit on it most of the time, like there's the black still stuck to it from getting fired. So a lot of rounds through it and no issues. So the only thing I guess I have to mention as far as big issue with like reliability and longevity is the finish. Now I did a video on this, but I'm just going to touch on it here. The finish is starting to come off. I notice on the edges, and I don't know how well it's going to show up, but you can see that right there. Like that. Now that, most of that was after 3 days, and I noticed once it wore off the leading edge, it's kind of like stayed like that. But I have noticed with the new Glock finishes, a lot of people on the internet have stated that the new Glock finish isn't as good as the old one. So just something to keep in mind. Like I said, I don't have any older Glocks to compare it to, but I did notice that the finish kind of comes off pretty quick. And I've used this with about 3 different holsters, and I didn't notice one or the other one wearing it quicker. I just noticed the leading edge on that had already kind of gone down to bare metal. So with that, moving on, trigger on these is not terrible. I was not a fan of old style Glock triggers. This one's a little bit more cleaned up, still kind of mushy, and I don't know how well that shows up on camera, but you can kind of hear, I don't know if you can, the sponginess. But once you get to the wall, like once you get to like there, it's a pretty clean break. Like it's a little bit of creep and then break. So reset's not terrible. Yep. Oh, hang on. So there's your reset. Not terrible. Completely serviceable. These guns do not have match grade triggers. It's not what you expect like out of a Walther Q5 or anything like that, or a 1911. But it's a serviceable trigger, and would certainly aid you well in a self-defense situation or as a duty weapon, or just something you want to go and have fun playing at the range. So that's the trigger in it. Not bad. I am happy that Glock kind of cleaned up their triggers a little bit from previous generations. But at the end of the day, there's striker-fired guns, and striker-fired guns are known for many things, but beautiful, amazing triggers are not one of them. So moving on, another thing I do like about the gun is the sights. This comes from the factory with night sights. Now I don't know if I can get them to light up because it is pretty bright in here, but they lighten up a little bit right there. You can a little bit see them. But I really like that this gun came from the factory with night sights, especially with this kind of geared towards, Glocks are geared towards carry guns. It's nice to see that from the factory it comes with the night sights, which is probably part of the reason why the price is a little bit more than like your standard Glock is, like your standard new Glock. But it's a nice little feature to have, and I have found that in low light situations they light up nice and bright, and it does aid in your shooting. So that's one of the nice things that they have on it. Now the lanyard loop, I know that everybody has been complaining about the lanyard loop, and I gotta say, through those 1,000 rounds, the lanyard loop did not cause a single malfunction. It's almost as if a little hook on the bottom of the grip doesn't actually do anything, but apparently a lot of people don't like that. The lanyard loop is removable. I leave it there. I think it's kind of neat. It kind of reminds you of what the original concept of this gun was. Now, the original concept, this was this gun, and when I say this gun, I mean not this gun, but basically a gun that looks a lot like this but isn't this, was part of the modular handgun program. The military was trying to select a new handgun, and they decided not to go with this because the keyword there being modular, which this gun is not modular. So they ended up going with the SIG. So their new hammer actuated striker fired pistol. So they went with that. They did not choose this, but basically the concept of this was a lot of people are like, well, why would the grip be big and the barrel short? Well, the barrel's short because, well, it's just a standard 19 barrel, and that's favorable for carry. But the reason why the grip is so big is because, especially if you're wearing gloves or something, you want a nice big grip. Like, here's my grip, right? And I've got fairly big hands, and it fits my hand really nice. That little extra there really completes the grip. I've held 19s and shot them before, where you get the grip, but you're always kind of like, it's, that bottom finger's kind of there, kind of whatever. So having that little bit extra is really nice. And especially as like the original concept of being a military sidearm, they aren't worried about concealability. They're not worried about, oh my God, that grip's a little bit longer, it might stick out and print a little bit. They're worried about anybody and everybody being able to have this on their side as a backup and be able to shoot it at, regardless of hand size, and have it work for them. So with that, I actually like the large grip. That's one of the reasons that I got drawn towards this gun, was because of the full-size grip. One of the other benefits to a full-size grip is here's your standard flush fit mag, right? 17. So you got 17 plus 1 in a flush fit mag, right? So that's a lot of little 9mm to use up if needed, in a self-defense situation. And then here's the thing, which the gun comes with 3 mags, 1 flush fit, and then 2 of the +2 base plates. So there's your 19 round magazine, right? That's a lot of ammo. So that's why they have a full-size grip on there. So also why they have the lanyard loop. But so that's kind of what they did with that. It's not for everybody. As far as concealability, I will admit, having that big grip, you do have to be, it's not so much that it's harder to conceal, you just have to put more effort into concealing it. Now, I've gone through about 3 different holsters with this gun. Some I were just briefly looking at, and others I'd ordered, which there'll be a whole review on some of the previous entries that I did and didn't like. But I ended up settling on this holster made for me by Dragonhide Concealment. And one of the nice things about this holster is I could put a cant on it. So, as I was stating, with having that full-size grip, it can kind of be hard to conceal. And it'll kind of fit in here because the light's off of it. But with that cant, once you cant that gun forward, you can hide that full-size grip. That's one of the reasons why I know a lot of people have been talking about they would rather a longer slide. I'd rather a longer grip, because you can cant your gun to hide a grip, but if you got a long barrel, you got a long barrel. Whether you're inside the waistband or outside the waistband, you're you gotta hide that barrel somewhere. You know, if that's tucking down underneath your, if that's sticking out down your shirt, that's going to be an issue. So I like how it's set up. Like I said, not for everybody, but completely and totally concealable. So you know, if you hear a review that people say, "Oh, I can't conceal; it's impossible," well, maybe they didn't try hard enough, or maybe it's just not for them. But I have been carrying it for the last couple months. No issues at all. Quite happy with it. Like I said, once I nailed down my holster, it's my daily carry. Probably one of the only other downsides to this gun, or not even a downside, just something that I noticed is, as everybody knows, as polymer gets older, it cracks and gets brittle. But I noticed here, the bottom of the gun, they've got this flared out magwell, which is a nice feature, by the way. But if you see this, see how thin this is? If you actually squeeze this, right, it's actually pretty flexible and pretty movable. So one thing I notice is right now the plastic is fresh and new and pliable, but say this sits out in the sun or gets hot, or it's in a dash, or it's in a glove box or whatever for the next 10 years, that plastic's eventually going to become brittle, and I feel like that's going to be a break point where something, you know, where it could chip off or bust off because of how thin the plastic is. And that's just, like I said, that's a minor little nitpick I have. It's, you know, by no means an issue, and I'm sure if it did break, it would, one, probably not affect the reliability of the gun, and two, I'm sure you could just get a new frame for it. But it was something I noticed, and I was surprised they hadn't really done anything to reinforce that, because that much flex in a grip was kind of surprising. But overall, I'm pretty happy with the gun. I gotta say, even though I'm not a huge fan of Glock, that it earns the reputation that Glock has of reliability and practicality. The I do like that they have the backstrap things, or backstrap things. That's real professional. The backstrap plates on here. I added the one. The only thing that I wish they didn't do was I needed the beaver tail on there, but I wish that, and I know aftermarket companies offer this, but I wish that this wasn't on here, because my hands, even though they're big, I like having a little bit smaller grip, because I like to be able to like grab onto the whole gun and feel like I've got the whole thing in my hands. Whereas with this, the gun feels just a smidge little bigger in my hand, because this adds swell to it. So I wish that I only had the beaver tail on there without that. But that's a minor little thing, and I've been shooting it fine like that, and no issues. It's just a little personal preference. And honestly, now I bet if I took it off, I probably would feel weird not having that little bit of a swell. But like I said, I'm pretty happy with it. If you have any questions, feel free to ask them, and have a good day.